to America. We are in New Hampshire, you know that, and we're in Bedford, New Hampshire,
with a bunch of great patriots. What a good-looking crew! I have to tell you.
Yeah, I know, and excited, an excited crew, and a crew that realizes that a big primary is coming up on Tuesday, and it's coming down to the last couple of days. Each day, more and more news about it. So we're going to try and in the first part of the show, we'll get rid of the news and the important items you need to know. Second part of the show, we'll devote to them and what they think is important, because isn't that going to tell us a lot more about how this primary turns out? I like polls. I use polls a lot, but I think they tell you about half the story and people tell you the rest of it. So you'll get both, and you'll get a really good insight into what will be a very, very historic primary. It's going to decide really, probably realistically, it's not one of two things: whether this is over because Trump has a big win, or whether Haley comes close or wins, in which case we're going to have a much longer battle. And this primary will go down to May, June, May. If Trump wins big, it's probably over by March.
Yeah, definitely. It'll go quickly. You know, we've talked all week about the importance of New Hampshire being the first in the nation primary. And us New Hampshireites take that privilege to heart. We really want to weed out people who don't have America's best interests in mind. And that's why in 1988, we said no to Joe Biden, right? It was here in New Hampshire that somebody asked Joe Biden about his schooling or his intellect. And Joe Biden famously lied and said he had all these degrees and all these scholarships. Well, that night, that's when we had true journalism. Sam Donaldson on ABC News said, this guy, he's got to get out of the race. He lies like you wouldn't believe. How can we have a commanding chief as a liar? And sure enough, he was kicked out of the race.
That's the old days.
Now they want corrupt people. They support corrupt people. But we do take our primary very, very importantly. I've talked a lot, too, about the difference between the southern part of the state and the North Country. The North Country doesn't, a lot of those places don't get the WMUR channel. It's our local television run out of Manchester, New Hampshire, the largest city. But, you know, when politicians go on the shows, people in the North Country don't necessarily see them on their local news. Some of them, depending where they're at, get Maine news. Some of them get Vermont news. So flyers have become very big with our politicians. But Nikki Haley, because she's got so much money from the Koch brothers, I think every day in my mail I have 3 flyers from the same person. I did today get one from DeSantis and a Trump one. But Nikki every day has got 3 or 4.
Well, someone called me on the radio today from New Hampshire, in New York. I'm in New York. I'm not in New York. I'm in New Hampshire, but they think I'm in New York. And she said she has so far gotten 14 Haley pieces of paper, of which they're really only just 3 different ones.
Yeah, right.
So she's keeping them and counting.
Yeah, she was talking about the deficit in the one I received today. But, you know, I follow politics so closely. And when Nikki started getting the big bump here, I actually talked to 45 down at, I think it was Mar-a-Lago, could have been his golf club. And I said, you better pay attention here. She's really starting to surge. But it was a very smart veteran up in Berlin, New Hampshire, who said, Nikki, what was the cause of the Civil War?
Her answer was,
she couldn't answer it.
That's
and
a
she
hard question.
floundered about that.
That's a hard question.
Yeah. And I went on a big diatribe about New Hampshire's history in the Civil War. My people weren't in this country at the time, but I'm still proud of the volunteerism that New Hampshireites had during that Civil War. We sent, 13 regiments, mostly volunteer, one, the 5th, had a terrible record. They lost the most people. They were in most of the big battles, and they lost the most people out of their
Well, they had
regiment.
a great record. And
And they were heroes, and they fought so all men could be free.
yeah, so they fought
And
to
for
free,
her not to
fought
answer
to
that,
free the slaves, which she didn't know was the reason. And it gets a little bit shaky because she comes from the state of South Carolina. The state of South Carolina was the
First to
first state
succeed.
to secede from the
That's right.
Union, and they gave as the first reason slavery. So Hickey, we cut the bull.
I spent some
And what are you
time.
doing that for? You're doing that so you can suck up. This is
Yeah.
what bothers me. I'm not saying that Nikki's stupid. She knows the cause of the Civil War, but she's trying to see, can I suck up to the North? Can I suck up to the South?
It's
Let me
ridiculous.
see what I can say. I got to tell you, if we ever should have a president like that, now is not the time. We need somebody who knows what they believe and has the courage to say
And is comfortable saying it.
and is not trying to figure out what you want to hear. Terrible characteristic in a leader of any kind. But
Absolutely.
at a time in which our country is in crisis, she's deadly.
Well,
And that's the reason why I think Rand Paul
never
said,
Nikki guy.
I don't care who becomes president on the Republican side. They're all good. Not Nikki.
Never Nikki, because now she is seen as pandering to the left too much. Her campaign has decided to use our independence. We have 40% independents in New Hampshire, so they could vote. Even the ones that typically lean voting Democrat. She's pandering to those people to vote in this primary.
Steve Bannon described it as she's trying to hijack the Republican primary.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at the polls, because there's a lot of discussion that she could defeat Biden more effectively than Trump. Now, here's the reality of the polls. There are about 18 polls that have been taken in the last month and a half. There are 2, maybe 3, in which she leads Biden by more than Trump. But then there are many more polls in which she loses to Biden and Trump beats Biden, but by a smaller number. So if you want to look at 2 or 3 outlier polls, she's winning by 7 or 8%. If you want to look at 10 other polls, Trump is winning by 2 or 3%, and she's losing by 2 or 3%. And
these polls kill me, though, Rudy. Who the hell would vote for Biden? Like, who are these 48% that would still vote for Biden? But anyways, I guess that's enough.
And also, I will tell you from my experience, the Democratic Party, and don't let them fool you, are frightened to the point of not being able to function, thinking that Trump will be the candidate. There is no reason to indict a man 4 times in 1 year if you're not deadly frightened of him. There's nobody in America right now, no felon in America, that's standing trial 4 times this year.
Now they're
empty. You know why? Because it's a direct violation of due process. How can you possibly have a fair trial if you're going to be tried 4 times? It ruins the preparation for each of the trials. So if I were the lawyer for those 4 people, I'd try to find maybe the one honest judge left in America. And I'd say, and I'm exaggerating, there are a lot of honest judges left, but I'd go find one and I'd say, Judge, this is a concerted violation of due process. Didn't happen by accident. It happened in the White House. It happened in the White House when the DA in my city, who's getting more people killed in my city than anybody else by letting killers out so they can kill people again, and the AG in my state who ran on the platform of, I'm going to indict Trump. I've never heard of anybody running, maybe in the Old West, I'm going to, crucify so-and-so, elect me. They're the number one. They've been down in the White House coordinating. Then you got Smith, who is one of the most unethical prosecutors in America, has a record for it, has the Supreme Court reversing his case against Governor McDonald, who's a Republican, 9-0, mostly because of the unethical things that he did. So Garland, who likes you to believe he wants a fair trial, I don't know, if you were Garland and you wanted a fair trial, would you pick the most unethical prosecutor you have in the Justice Department?
No. Not Jack Smith.
And finally, we have Fannie and her very special prosecutor. They are alleged to be lovers. Maybe they are.
About that part, right?
Maybe they aren't.
Here's
what they also are alleged to be: major thieves.
Yeah.
They jacked up a $600 million legal fee for him.
600,000.
600,000 legal fee for him. It's going to go to $1 million. They've spent allegedly a lot of it on going to the Caribbean, going on 2 cruises together while he's married, and getting the divorce the day after he got the big $600,000 contract from her.
But Rudy,
But here's the really important part. He's been at the White House twice. Now, what the hell is he doing at the White House? He's at the White House.
The taxpayers for it too.
He charged the taxpayers for that 24 hours.
Yep.
In other words, while he was sleeping on the plane, he was charging.
But
to me, that's a shyster lawyer. But in any event, what's he there at the White House for? He's there because all the cases
they're
are coordinated.
coordinating it. Yeah.
The White House wanted to have a say in when can we get Trump in 24, so he's tied up and can't run against Biden. They want to substitute for Biden, he'll be in the basement, and for Trump, he'll be in the courthouse.
Yeah.
And nobody will be running for president. Now, they got a problem. Trump knows how to run from the courthouse. Since they've been putting him in courthouses, he's gone ahead by 30%.
Right. All the cameras are there.
So it is possible if they keep it up, they'll get him elected by acclamation. But let's not give him any hints. But when you come back, I'm going to show you the polls. So you get to see them and you get an idea if this thing isn't over yet. And these are the polls from Politico, which is hardly a Republican anything.
Left. And then soon after, we get to talk to some of these special guests on what's bothering them about today in America. Stay tuned.
So we'll be right back live from Bedford, New Hampshire.
So, Ted, I'm going to try to put these up there. Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
And we're back.
Okay. Well, welcome back to America's Mayor Live. And let's take just a quick look, because everybody talks about polls all the time. And the best thing to look at is Politico, because they put them all together and they average them and they don't change them. I mean, the polls themselves may be skewed, but at least you see the numbers. So we can go back to Wednesday of last week, and we're just going to look at the New Hampshire polls right now. And in the New Hampshire polls, you see the first one right down there at the bottom. Last week on the 17th, Trump was ahead by 16 points. Haley had 34%. DeSantis at 5%. And Christie. Then the next day, there were 2 polls, a Boston Globe and a St. Anselm poll, both very, very well thought of polls. In both cases, Trump had a 14% lead. Haley was at 36 and 38, which is a good number from her, but Trump was at the dangerous 50% because theoretically, when an incumbent, and they're thinking of him as an incumbent, gets to 50, it's pretty much over. And DeSantis was at 6% now. So now we got 4 polls, 5%, 5%, 6%, 6%. Then we move to Friday, and on Friday, the one New Hampshire poll has Trump up by 17. He's jumped to 52% of the Boston Globe, Suffolk, and Haley's gone down to 35%. Okay, so now we come into closer to the election, or as close as we are going to get to the election. And we have the 17th, which is Wednesday. You have Haley at 34. You have Trump up at 16%. He's still at 50.
Up 16 points.
Up 16 points. On Thursday, you have two more polls where Trump is up by 14% and Haley is at 38 and 36. And then you have the polls from Friday, and they show us. Let's see if we have those right. Yep, we got it. We got it.
Screen's doing something funny.
Yep. There it is. The last one is the Boston Globe Suffolk poll. Trump 52, Haley 35, Christie DeSantis 6. So Trump up by 17. So that seems like a pretty solid number for a long time. And Ted has one other that wasn't registered by the time.
No, you mentioned it, Mayor. I just had a question for our audience and a show of hands. When you see polling like that, I don't want to know who you're necessarily supporting, but will polling and where your candidate of choice is in the polling, does that impact your decision on whether or not you're going to support them? Raise your hand if where your candidate of choice is in the polling, does that impact whether or not you stick with them? Or are you more likely to maybe go with someone who has a better shot, for example?
What's an easier question they can raise?
Yeah. Yeah. So all right, you have your candidate in mind. Where they're at in the polls, does that influence you on whether you support them on Tuesday? Raise your hand if it does.
Nobody.
And if it doesn't, and you're going to stick with your person, raise your hand. It doesn't matter what the polls say. Thank you.
You know, it's
Boy, they spend a lot of money on pollsters for nothing.
Right? You see this, everybody. Everyone's hand. You're on camera right now. Everyone's hand went up on that. So
a lot of money.
Asked me that question right before the caucus in Iowa. He was wondering, whoever wins Iowa, will it have an effect on New Hampshire? And I said, no, it never has. It's who we believe in. We have faith. But I have to say, these elections have changed because one of the most oppressed groups in the United States is conservatives. And I'm not kidding. When I look historically, where we are, a lot of people talk about minorities. Nobody is more oppressed than a conservative. And we've seen the weaponization of all of our departments. Our forefathers wanted everything separate. We sure got to look at it where my heart got broken, being in healthcare for 30 years, to have all of a sudden medical associations denying science, right? We had people denying where COVID actually came from. I was doing some continuing education classes yesterday, and I do a lot with bioterrorism and chemical warfare. And in it, they had COVID-19 listed as a bioweapon. I always said I didn't know whether it was leaked purposely or not. I was certainly aware of 26 countries that are doing a lot of biological warfare. But it was amazing to me that healthcare was that bold because we saw them healthcare different.
When did they put it there as a bio? Because back when they were trying to frighten us with the whole thing and not blaming China, they never listed it as a bioweapon.
No, they as you were a lawyer, you were the third ranking person in the Justice Department under Ronald Reagan. I'm sure your heart broke when you saw the weaponization of the Justice Department. And that's how I felt during the pandemic.
Yeah, sure. Very good point. Yeah.
Because they were denying, even though we knew early on side effects of the vaccine, patients have a right to know that. All of you have gone to a doctor, whenever you have anything new, whether it's a vaccine, you have to have informed consent. That is a holy grail for us in the medical profession. We're supposed to lay out the risk benefit of any treatment. We didn't do that with COVID. There was no paper you signed saying, okay, if you're in this age group, you're at high risk of heart disease, stroke from the COVID-19. And then they started pushing it on babies who had really no risk with COVID. Most of them lived, a high percentage, but this is why we have secret ballots. I really empathize with people who don't want to come out and say I'm a conservative or say who they're voting for. You don't have to. And I understand, because your workplace may come after you. People may call to get you fired.
I
It's a
know
terrible reality.
more examples of that,
Yep. We hear
It
it on
is.
our radio show. People call in all the time and talk about
particularly
it.
in the legal profession.
But vote. That's my whole thing. I don't even care who you vote for, except I hope you don't vote radically left anymore. But
Yeah. Who's voting Tuesday? Who's voting on Tuesday? If you're voting in the New Hampshire primary on Tuesday, raise your hand.
Oh.
Dr. Yeah. So we'll wait till the end, but we'll want to see who people are supporting, but we want to tease that, right?
Why don't we take a break and then we can go? Our first guest is gonna be Kelvin.
Okay.
Yep.
And we'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
We'll be back live from Bedford, New Hampshire.
Our device is something that you can plug into your television, and now you can use your television as a social television type experience. So in the Portal universe, you can watch your favorite content creators' videos, live streams, music. We also have TV subscriptions as well.
TV subscriptions.
You can also
regular channels, all the sports.
Right, you can actually cut your cable from your cable subscription and get QUX TV on our QX TV boxes, and you can pay half the price that you're currently paying for your cable television subscription, and you can get all the best premium TV channels and more. I mean, it's really, there's so much on there, Rudy. I mean, you've seen it.
No, I've seen it and I use it, and it's good. I mean, it's great. It's just exactly the same except for half the price. Plus, nobody is finding out what I'm watching, and that's not being reported to anybody.
Right, so you have absolute privacy using this device, which you don't have on other devices out there currently on the market.
This is absolutely great. QUX.TV is how you can find out about it. QUX.TV.
Use promo code RUDY to receive $30 off.
okay.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with America's Mayor Live in Bedford, New Hampshire. And I didn't bring my balance of nature with me here. I have him back at the hotel. And lo and behold, this is a balance of nature family, which is why they look so healthy, so handsome, so wonderful. There you go. Look at that.
So make
The veggies and the fruits, take them twice a day. I prefer to take 2 of each in the morning and 2 of each of night. I'm stealing 2 of theirs because I always show you that I take them.
They're very expensive, but
Don't tell them.
order and use code Rudy, you're going to get a 35% discount.
Don't tell Garland I'm doing this or he'll prosecute me for theft
Stealing?
because I'm a Republican. I don't have the Democratic defense.
We also like to support Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell is a great man. He makes American-made products. He's got employees to pay. The products are great. I happen to love, the sheets, the towels are some of my favorite. So if you go to mypillow.com, use code Rudy for savings up to 66% off. He deserves our help and their quality products.
I think we got it. Yeah. So, and we're gonna bring out a pillow later, right? I could use one to rest. So, Kelvin, tell us about yourself. Kelvin, you are originally from Vietnam.
Vietnam, yes, sir.
So tell us about yourself.
My name is Calvin Nguyen. I came from Vietnam, and I was on a boat, refugee. I left Vietnam 1989, escaped Vietnam. Both my parents was in the U.S. military for the South, and after the war in 1975, they captured my dad, and so everyone has to hide. Either you escape with the military, the U.S. plane, or you stay back. You can't escape. You stay back, but you have to hide. And they captured my dad, and somehow he got released. He came back, and I was born. And
Maybe Kelvin.
yeah.
Must have been cute.
Yeah.
Still
So I was born in 1983 and 1984. They found us and then somehow they found us. They tracked and then so we had to hide and then you got nowhere to run. So they came down and said that we need to uh, will walk you back to the station. So we needed to talk. So everyone knows that time when they
take you to the
to
stage.
the station, you know what's going on. So up until now, I don't know that my dad is still alive or he could kill, but just assume that he already killed. Make his life easier that way.
Mhm.
So 1989, so my mom started to she probably 8 or 9 times she tried to escape on a boat, but fell. And then the last time she tried took us, I was uh, that age. I was about 5,
Mm.
and then with my sister and my mom, and then she pays I think few let's say gold at that time,
Mhm.
so she escaped the country. So we went from the south. You have to go on at night quietly, left the country. No one can, like your neighbor cannot know what you're doing. Just left. And then yeah, so we went to north. We on a boat and the little tiny boat of the fishing boat and just a bamboo, not fancy engine, not any fancy engine, just a little bamboo boat. And the only direction we can head to is Hong Kong because before 1997 was
Mhm.
It was
England. Yeah. Um, so cut short, we were on the boat for a month. It's supposed to be 1 week, but somehow the storm, we ran out of food and everything. You had to stop, and then they chasing us. Both Chinese government and the Vietnamese communists were chasing us. So you have to only go at night. In the morning, you have to stay in the uh, somewhere like in uh, forest and hide yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you eventually came to America. What does America
Yep.
mean to you?
This is the greatest country on earth. So, and yeah,
Calvin.
it's the greatest country on earth, and it very painful. It's hurt me that it's going the way that socialism.
Yes.
Yeah,
The way
you're in a position to
Yeah.
say that a lot of people can't
Mhm.
because socialism and communism.
Yes. Yeah.
What mostly gets you there? What has you frightened that we're there or in that direction?
Back there, even now, if I do some business back in Vietnam, I still go there just for fun and keep my mouth zipped. But you can't say freedom. You don't have any freedom. You can't say what you can't express yourself. If you say something wrong, you can't see the sunrise. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you make and if you everyone there in Vietnam, when you get to some level, let's say your business going great, you become super like your piggy bank was wealthy enough, big enough, it's a time that it will come down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They'll come down
Some
and
of that.
Grab it. And then
Some of
they
that.
will have 1,001 reason to take it from you and to like prosecute you and
What do you think about America in the politicization of several of the departments that are supposed to be separate from the White House? What do you think? It's like a dictatorship. It must scare
is
the hell out of you.
right.
It scares the hell out of me.
It's supposed to be we the people,
Yes.
not the dictator.
A lot of people, I hate it when I keep hearing democracy, democracy, democracy. That sounds beautiful, but we're a constitutional republic, and that's a big difference.
Right.
And we all should be united in that constitution.
Right.
And when my family came from Italy, they assimilated. It didn't mean they stopped speaking their language right away, or there wasn't certain customs they continued, but they assimilated because we're all supposed to have common values and a common American culture.
Right.
And we've forgotten about the Constitution.
Right.
So,
And
what
you
a
consider
great
yourself an
history.
American?
I am an American. I'm very proud.
You damn right you're an American. You know why? I'm going to tell you. I'm gonna tell you what the first Republican would have told you. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln said the sign of a great American is not how long his family has been here, but how much that person believes in the values of America. Even if they just came in today and became a citizen, and they believe more strongly, they're better Americans than people who have been here forever. And to a large extent, the people who have escaped communism are our best Americans because they believe it the most. They believe it. You lived it.
Yeah.
You lived it. You know it. You can tell some of our self-important, jackasses what it's like when they don't have this freedom, when they're trying to take it away from other people.
Yes.
Gosh, and so
Thank you, Kelvin.
are you voting? Are you able to vote?
Yes.
Well, you're an American citizen now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
you want to tell us how, or you want to keep that?
No, I'm
Me.
very proud that
Yeah.
I'm voting for Trump.
What? You got something there? Oh.
Huh?
Oh.
He's my president, and we are our president.
It's our
Yep.
president.
Why?
So,
Why is he your president?
because I believe in his policy, and I believe in that, you should. The good king should you should take care of your own
That's right.
home.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't, then
Then you can worry
Then
about
you
other
worry
people.
about-
That's right.
So it's the America First part
Yeah.
American
that gets you, and
Yeah.
and the fact that you're not going to take care of. It reminds me a little bit of the advertisement, the thing they do on a plane where they tell you before you help anybody else, take it for yourself. First time I heard that, my first impression, I was a kid. First time I heard, that kind of selfish. Shouldn't you help? And then I thought, of course,
Yeah.
you can't help anybody unless you're alive.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the theory of America First. How are we going to help anybody else if we ruin this country, which Biden is doing? Well, thank you, Kelvin.
Thank you very much.
What a story. Oh. I think Kelvin should run.
Body is an amazing chemical laboratory. When you give it the right chemistry, it functions the best. Balance of Nature is the ultimate whole fruit and vegetable chemistry.
Get 35% off your first order by using discount code RUDY.
That's microphone's better, so they went too far. Where did I look? Hold on. That little one is a big professional camera. We tend to look at
Well, who do we have? You tell us.
We have Dana, another New Hampshireite who loves this country. Dana, what is bothering you about what is happening in America right now?
It's terrifying to me that the President of the United States of America is mentally and physically not able to make decisions and run this country. It scares me, and I'm embarrassed. Other nations are laughing at us, and I think it's terrible.
It is hard to watch too. I used to try to divide and split Biden because I know his career and I know what a pathological liar he is. And also I know he's corrupt. That was that side. I didn't really want to talk about the dementia side that much because I have empathy for that. But you're right. He's an embarrassment to us. He's not really running this country. Obama and in the thugs around him. Just look at his cabinet. They're all Obama retreads. It's a
Have you heard some recent wacko shots of him?
Biden.
Biden, we keep a file. We call it
The puppet.
Biden wacko. Those are files like where he finishes a speech and he goes.
Which way do I go?
Yeah.
Or the best one of all is when he showed up in Cambodia, met the head of Cambodia, and thought it was the president of Colombia. I would think Kelvin, you could tell the difference between a Colombian and a Cambodian, right? I mean, just like, gee, this is not a Colombian. You get my meaning, right? This guy thought he was halfway across the world. He's in the wrong country. Now he's there with all the world leaders like Xi Jinping.
His
You,
buddies.
you don't think they write that? You don't think they say to themselves, "Man, we got a dodo in the White House. We can take advantage of him." And right now, there's no doubt in my mind that Xi Jinping is figuring out, should I attack Taiwan before he leaves and I get a free shot, or should I take a risk on being better prepared and wait for a real president? And it's a close decision because he's not prepared yet to take us out in the Pacific. His whole plan was probably to do it in about 5 years when he could destroy our Pacific fleet.
Well, China's navy.
But China is
bigger than ours,
a bigger
yeah.
navy than ours,
Yeah.
but it's not as technologically effective as ours.
Yeah.
So with half the ships, we could defeat them. Won't be that way in 5 years.
There's going to be more interference in this election than I think the last one. I think China, Iran, right, our biggest enemies are going to be trying to get Biden reelected.
So do you think he'll make it to the election without having this, doctor?
Yeah.
People who have dementia go out. There comes a time in which, God forbid, they can't talk anymore. They go. Sometimes they die before that happens. But this could happen to him. So what do they do if he gets up one day and he just goes?
We have Kamala. We have all my women friends here. Why the
Scary.
real vice president has to be Kamala?
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Oh my God.
I think you're being unfair. I think you're being unfair.
You do?
Oh, I am very impressed with her.
Oh,
I remember her first major talk when she was talking to the kids and trying to explain Ukraine and Russia, so they'd really get it. And she started off with, Ukraine is a small country.
Yeah,
Small. Russia is a big country.
she did big.
Big. The big country wants to take the small country.
she's another major embarrassment.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Really.
I mean, she's the choice.
She's
No,
so
that
something happens
scares
to
me
Biden,
even more.
right?
What really is a sign of our
Michael?
political. It's a sign of our political cowardice that nobody really makes a big issue out of this. I believe if I was sitting in Washington, this would be an issue every day. I'd remind the American people that the guy going to bed at night with that little button that could destroy the world doesn't know who the hell he is.
He has no idea.
He's got a vague notion of who the hell he is.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's a total dishonesty and a total fraud.
And honestly, if he really truly cared about the United States of America, he would just get out.
The radical left hate America. I remember when Obama said, I am going to fundamentally change America. And he did.
He did.
He did. When we have people in the streets saying that Hamas was right in what they did on that savagery and brutality to women and babies, I can't even put my mind around it.
No.
Okay. Thank you, Dana.
Now,
Why?
you walk with? You're the tough guy. Come on, tough guy.
Are you, Dana? Are you willing to share with us who you're supporting Tuesday?
And why?
Absolutely. I'm voting for Trump. I can tell you why. Because he gets shit done.
He gets things done.
He gets it done.
Oh my gosh,
No
obvious.
nonsense. Let's go.
Thank you, Dana.
All right, Dana.
Dana.
Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
God, why don't
Audience, go back to the mayor. Oh, you have that. We're back. Okay. Thank you. And we're back to America's Mayor Live, and we have a great audience here live in studio. And we want to go ahead and we're going to ask our audience some quick questions, kind of get a live poll. We're just a few days out of the New Hampshire primary, first in the nation, following the Iowa caucus. And we have a great audience of New Hampshire primary voters. So when I say, let's play a quick word game. When I say President Trump, what comes to mind? Just kind of throw some words out there. Forceful. That's a good one. Audacious. That's a big word. Strong. That's a good one. Anything over here? Patriot. Oh. Those are good. So when I say Nikki Haley, what comes to mind? Nikki Haley.
Loyal. Thinks she's better than everybody else.
Ooh. Anything else?
The establishment.
Establishment. A quitter.
Bought?
Andrew.
Bought. So bought and paid for, I think is what he means when he says that. Okay, let's do a couple more and then we're going to throw it back to the mayor. When I say Ron DeSantis, what comes to mind?
Yeah,
Good governor.
governor. Yep.
Good governor.
Not his time yet.
Not his time.
Stay in Florida.
Well, I think in a way, that's a compliment to his job performance, right? I think that's something you hear from a lot of folks.
What's a big difference, Ted?
Yeah.
There's a major difference between the two of them.
Felt about Haley versus DeSantis.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this one in. I know he's not in the race anymore, but we got to know him a little bit on the campaign.
He's our friend.
Dr. Maria knows what I'm going to say here. Vivek Ramaswamy. When I say Vivek Ramaswamy, what comes to mind?
Smart.
Yeah, he is.
Love him.
Intelligent.
Intelligent.
Love everything that he supports.
Wow. Anything over here?
Very well spoken.
And we'll do one more just for fun here. When I say Chris Christie, what do you think?
Bridgegate.
Bridgegate. Why don't you shut the bridge down, Chris?
You still Bridgegate, huh?
Beach and beach. They remember Bridgegate and the beach. I wish that we're going to get that on the mic. And on that note, we're going to throw it back to the mayor.
So I always would not want to be the doctor who did the stomach surgery on him because it didn't work. How does this guy advertise? Come to me for $20,000, $40,000 stomach surgery. Go through hell and you're going to look like him. He looks worse than before he had the stomach surgery. What the hell happened to his stomach surgery? Doctor?
So a lot. It's not just Chris Christie. Sometimes those
Chris was
fail.
a friend of mine. I was the first person to endorse him for governor. I helped him as a U.S. attorney, and I do not understand what he's done, and it's a great hurt, really. But we have with us Matt, and Matt is from Salem, which I have to confess I twice got wrong when I was there, and this is the reason I didn't win the New Hampshire primary. I thought I was in Salem, Massachusetts, both times.
You're not the first.
I never got any place wrong.
I used to before I went and spoke, because you go to 5 places in a day. I would have somebody write down for me, we're in Michigan, we're in Wisconsin, we're in this. So I'd remind myself. They reminded me about this, and I get up and I say, it really is unbelievable to be in one of the highest tax states in the country, Salem, Massachusetts. And the people are going, what?
Yeah.
And then the second time I thought about it so much to correct it. Salem, New Hampshire, Salem, New Hampshire, Salem, New Hampshire, Salem. Very nice to be here in Salem, Massachusetts. It's the witches, the damn witches.
Yeah.
Thinking about our country, what's going wrong, what's going right? What are your thoughts tonight?
Thank you for the question. A lot of things, but one topic that I don't think has gotten a lot of discussion, at least that I can see on the conservative side even, is the situation in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And not only the border. I mean, the border is obviously part of it. But I think, you can probably ask any conservative and they'll agree that there's a pretty relatively simple solution to that, and it's just enforcing the law. Every other country in the world enforces their border laws except for us, it seems like, including Mexico and Canada. But my concern are the drug cartels. It doesn't seem evident to me that it's an easy solution at all. If there is a solution, there are no solutions. There's only trade-offs. But the situation seems to be pretty dire, particularly in the last couple of years, especially after COVID. I think in 2020, Mexico had like the deadliest year on record, if not one of the most deadliest years on record. And the cartels, they run pretty much all of Mexico at this point, except for maybe a few provinces or states. And I don't know, it doesn't seem clear to me at all what a potential solution might be. I mean, you could declare war and deploy troops or something like that. You could try to deal with it here by cutting off their profits, but then the drug use would be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the cartels of yesteryear are not the cartels of today. It used to be drugs were their main thing. And do you see their weaponry now? They have tanks.
Yeah.
They have military style weapons. They are so well organized. Do you know we have Sinaloa cartel right here in Manchester, New Hampshire? They have their tentacles in all 50 states, but it's not drugs. You know what their number one thing is now?
And trafficking.
Yeah, human trafficking. You got it.
Trafficking of minors.
Yeah.
We have now become the number one country where people fly in to have sex with children.
Yeah.
Nothing to be proud of. Nothing.
Yeah.
And it gets covered up even more than the drugs. And the place that you want to hit a nerve in Hollywood. Talk about sex trafficking of children. Like the movie that came out this year or last year, Sound of Freedom. Mm-hmm. Sound of Freedom was an excellent movie, and it was quite accurate as movies go, about a guy who dedicated himself to trying to free these kids and families who were taken as hostages. And Hollywood banned it, of course. It made a pretty good showing independently, and then they started making all kinds of allegations against him. I mean, he was really a sexual pervert, the guy who did it. The guy has saved more people than anyone. The people involved in it, there was something wrong with them. Hollywood tried to destroy everybody involved in that movie, get them put under investigation. The IRS started going after them. All they're trying to do is save kids. And it's all emanating from Hollywood. Now, most people don't know this because the crooked media doesn't report it. California reduced the penalties for pedophilia. Who the hell would reduce the penalties for pedophilia?
Hollywood.
I mean, well, I almost think you got to be a pedophile to do it. I don't know anybody who has sympathy for pedophiles because I don't think I know any pedophiles. But I would imagine the only people who do are pedophiles. Who has sympathy for pedophiles? It's an uncurable disease at this point. You cannot cure it.
It's still in the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Manual for Psychiatric Illnesses, and it's uncurable. It's still saying pedophilia is uncurable. But Matt, what do you think our first step should be with the cartel? Do you think it should be they're on the terrorist watch list? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, I really don't know. It's really one of those problems that I think warrants like real like discussion and actually just talking about what the actual plan is. I don't think you can just go in there and just not have a plan like we did in other situations. Like you actually have to have a something that you're trying to accomplish out of it and execute it 100%.
Yeah.
Like you can't go into it like, well, we might do this, but if something goes wrong, we're gonna just pull out or something. Like you have to
commit
to the
we did
to the
this. We did
solution.
this successfully through 4 administrations with Colombia, and that was the war against the Colombian cartels and the FARC, and the American military was involved, and it started with President Reagan, and it really ended with Biden, and they all participated in it. And we did a good job of reducing the Colombian cartels. That's really what gave the Mexican cartels the ability to grow. They took over where the Colombians left off. And Trump was on his way to getting fentanyl under control. The first 2 years he was in office, fentanyl was out of control. Last 2 years, you see a big drop in fentanyl. And he was he had a very good relationship with AMLO, who's the president of Mexico. He got him to participate in going after the cartels. And then he got him to agree to keep all the people in Mexico, which is amazing. Because they come in through amnesty. So all amnesty got decided before you came here. And this guy, whoever advises him, had to do this just to hurt the country. He did away with it on the first day.
Finally, a New York person
ruined the whole thing.
State politician, not federal. New York said, why is my party or anybody complaining about this influx of illegals? I need them for redistricting.
Yeah.
Yep.
And New York council, city council, has voted to allow non-citizens to vote.
What the heck?
And the problem they have is the New York Constitution sets out the qualifications for voters. And one of the qualifications is you're a citizen. But they don't care about the Constitution or the law. I mean, they have become like illegal communists. It's unbelievable. You are talking about our biggest problem, really. It's an invasion. And believe it or not, it's one that's right up the wheelhouse of Trump, or any good Republican could solve it. Not just Trump. There's a lot of things only Trump can do. This one, I'd be comfortable even with DeSantis solving it, or I don't think she could, because she's plays both sides. And if you're a Republican that plays both sides, you're not going to solve it. But if you just stick to keeping them out, you can keep them out. We'll be right back.
Our device is something that you can plug into your television, and now you can use your television as a social television type experience. So in the Portal universe, you can watch your favorite content creators' videos, live streams, music. We also have TV subscriptions as well.
subscriptions.
You can also
regular channels, all the sports.
Right, you can actually cut your cable from your cable subscription and get QUX TV on our QX TV boxes, and you can pay half the price that you're currently paying for your cable television subscription, and you can get all the best premium TV channels and more. I mean, it's really, there's so much on there, Rudy. I mean, you've seen it.
No, I've seen it and I use it, and it's good. I mean, it's just exactly the same except for half the price. Plus, nobody is finding out what I'm watching, and that's not being reported to anybody.
Right, so you have absolute privacy using this device, which you don't have on other devices out there currently on the market.
This is absolutely great. QUX.TV. is how you can find out about it. QUX.TV.
Use promo code RUDY to receive $30 off.
Well, we're back. Boy, this is... All right. There you go. Dr. Maria has gone out to be a cheerleader.
She's
So-
given me her seat.
So let's go.
Never to return. I've got it forever now. Karen, you're up. I'm ready.
Ready?
I'm ready.
So what should we know about Karen in this primary that's coming up that's going to decide maybe our future?
So one of the things that has been, I kind of feel like our fate has been sealed. I
Right.
feel like Trump is got a lot of momentum.
Right.
So now that begs the next level question: who is he going to bring on as VP?
Good question. They have big talk about it today
Yeah.
because Scott endorsed him. So they said
Yeah.
Scott, and then a lot of talk about and Stefanik, at least
Yeah.
Stefanik, Ben Carson.
Are we
Scott.
thinking at all about Vivek or?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vivek like cake. He told
Yes. Vivek.
Vivek.
Love Vivek.
It's a very, I mean, it's always a very important choice. Right now, it's a really important choice because we're coming off a period of time with probably the silliest vice president we've ever had.
Yeah.
So people are afraid of having another
Right.
jerk vice president. And I think that we have a period of time in which we do have, in both cases, elderly presidents.
Yeah.
So, and also a one-term president. So the vice president becomes the heir apparent. So what do you think? What do you like?
I like Carrie Lake. I like
Me too.
Vivek.
Yeah, good.
I like Ron DeSantis
I do.
because I feel like Vivek and Ron could then carry the torch after the 4 years
What's the youth?
because of their youth and also they're very bright.
Yeah.
Do you like
Mhm.
Kristi Noem?
I don't know a lot about her.
What do
Tell
you
me
think of
about her.
Kristi Noem from South
I think every single one of them is in the qualification category. I'm not going to say who I really.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, I might at the end, but I feel like I talk to him too much. And,
okay.
um,
Oh, so it's
he,
him.
the president has said that he's made up his mind.
I heard
But
that, and that's what.
But can I respectfully disagree? I hope he doesn't get mad, but I don't think he has.
Okay.
I think he's got it down to 2 or 3, and he probably every day. This is a guess because he
Yeah.
doesn't talk about it a lot.
Right.
At all. I think he changes his mind.
Okay.
So I went through this when I ran, and you do think a lot about who your vice president is going to be, and you do change your mind. And even if you were to give a choice now, there's a really good chance it'd be different 3 months from now, because it's so many things that get involved.
Right.
You know what? So who would you like, and tell us what you would think as the vice president.
I think I would probably go with Ron DeSantis because of his performance in Florida.
Because you think he's the best prepared.
Yes, I have a soft spot for him. I don't like the acrimony between the two of them. I really feel like that divided. That's okay. I think you're right about that. It's politics.
With Bush and Reagan, and Bush called him voodoo economics. He called him stupid. And then he served him as an enormously loyal vice president.
True.
Maybe one of the most.
True.
So tell us what you wanted to talk.
Well, I was going to talk about the lack of jurisprudence and the fact that it doesn't appear to have equal treatment of people under the law, depending on if, right. I know. But I think it's scary because I almost feel like it's a warning shot to anybody that wants to support. Let's just say we support Donald Trump. Like, are you at risk of being audited, or are you at risk of being treated bad, swatted? You see people getting swatted in the public eye, that a SWAT team comes and
Navarro being put in leg irons.
Yes.
For committing a 1-year misdemeanor.
Right.
He's being charged with a contempt of Congress.
This is January 6th.
Yeah, he had a legitimate issue of privilege because he can't. A judge had to decide it. They wouldn't wait for a judge to decide it, and then they put him in leg irons. leg irons. The guy,
That's
you,
crazy.
I don't think I put mafia guys in leg irons.
No. I don't like where our country's going. I mean, I've read
They're
the
like
Gulag
Nazis.
Archipelago and Stalin, and show me the man and I'll come up with the crime.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's happening in real time right in front of our eyes over the last few years. It's gotten worse. I think that's really frightening.
Maybe longer than we think, but it's gotten really.
It's really, really scary right now. So I think that's my biggest concern. And I think that the one thing holding us back from falling completely is the ability to have our own arms,
Yeah.
right? And I think we're
Second Amendment.
Second Amendment.
Absolutely. It's become more important.
And yeah. So I feel like watching people being treated unequally under the laws is really concerning to me.
You know, somebody came to me when Fanny and her very special prosecutor got in trouble, and there were the allegations that they were lovers and stealing money and whatever. And they said, how do you feel? Because, you know, she indicted you and wants to put you in jail for the rest of your life. Do you have any sympathy for her? And I was about to give the political, well, you know, she's a human being. And I said, no, I don't have any sympathy.
No.
I don't have any sympathy at all. I mean, she's trying to put me, Trump, Meadows, and she's got a RICO case against me. Totally ridiculous. All I did was act as a lawyer.
I know.
I represented my client. If anybody was going to be on his side, it would have to be his lawyer. Not only did I agree with what I was doing, but even if I didn't, I would have to have done it.
Right.
That's my obligation.
You had the law.
How many times do lawyers represent guilty people? I was representing an innocent person. Well, what is the outcome? How much I got? 2 minutes and 28 seconds.
If you want to, that's over. It's gone overtime.
Oh, okay.
It's a good discussion. Mayor, before we go, of course, we want to do a unscientific poll. We have about 20 New Hampshire primary voters here. So we'd like to do a poll, you know, who are.
Well, you go ahead.
Okay, so we'll start. So we'll do a show of hands. And you two obviously are part of this poll as well. So a show of hands on who you're planning to support on Tuesday. And we're going to start with Nikki Haley. Raise your hand if you plan on supporting Nikki Haley Tuesday. No hands. 0 hands, folks. These are New Hampshire primary voters. So we'll go on from there. Let's go to Governor Ron DeSantis. Please raise your hand if you plan on supporting Governor Ron DeSantis Tuesday. No hands.
A maybe. We got one maybe.
Yeah.
A little bit. Okay. And then I guess we'll go with the last guy here. Who here is planning to support President Donald Trump on Tuesday? Oh, look at that. Okay. That's it. Up. The mayor is now in.
Oh, I can't vote. I thought it was a Democratic primary.
Everybody else does.
Hands up.
Just put him on a bus.
Let's ask the second choice.
Say he's a student.
The mayor brings up a good question.
Who would your second choice be?
So your second choice.
Definitely Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
Second choice. So Trump is not a part of this because he's everybody's first choice. We want to make that clear. So second choice, Nikki Haley. Who here would go with Nikki Haley as a second choice? No hands.
No. Oh, what?
Oh,
Okay, good.
Got one. And then Ron DeSantis. Who here has Ron DeSantis? Isn't that interesting? So.
And what about Vivek?
Well,
But he
Yeah.
down.
Vivek.
Vivek.
Ramaswamy. Who? If Vivek stayed in it to New Hampshire, here's a good question. If Vivek was still on the ballot,
He's on the ballot.
oh, he's on the ballot, but he's officially withdrawn.
He's on the ballot.
Not withdraw.
Yeah.
But anyone hear me vote?
I like him.
Is he anybody's second choice?
Would you your second choice then?
He's my third.
Third choice.
He's unproven.
How
He's unproven as
the state of ball moved forward?
That's good.
What'd you say?
How many people was copying Trump too much? Does anyone think he maybe, or at least you were suspicious about how much he was doing? Okay. So a couple people are okay. Okay, can he win you over over the next over time? Can he win you over? Okay.
Anytime you tell the truth.
You want to find him?
Yeah.
Mayor, about to send us off.
You continue in New Hampshire, and we'll be back with you tomorrow night. And not tomorrow night, on Monday night, but we'll have some specials on Rudy Giuliani Confidential. Should hit subscribe, and we're going to go to a diner tomorrow. We're going to try to find some voters and candidates, and we'll be putting them on the weekend on Rudy Giuliani Confidential. Okay? You just hit it right on the head. God bless America.
That was fun. Thank you.
Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans.